I used to pride myself on my sharp memory, but a few months ago, I found myself standing in the grocery store, unable to remember my own PIN. That, on top of constantly misplacing my keys and forgetting the names of people I just met, made me realize that the brain fog I was experiencing was more than just a passing phase. It was a disconcerting glimpse into a future I didn't want, a future where my own mind felt like a stranger. Instead of accepting this as a normal part of getting older, I committed myself to understanding the science. I dove into clinical studies and nutritional science, and I discovered 4 accessible superfoods that not only helped clear my brain fog, but also delivered genuinely surprising results. It started subtly. I'd walk into a room and forget why I was there. I'd lose my train of thought mid-sentence. At first, I brushed it off. I'm just tired, I'd tell myself. I'm just stressed. But the moments of forgetfulness started getting closer together, more pronounced. The PIN incident was the final straw. The sense of panic that washed over me in that checkout line was cold and absolute. It felt like the floor was dropping out from under me. Was this it? Was this the beginning of an inevitable decline? That night, I sat with my laptop surrounded by medical journals and nutrition blogs. The prevailing wisdom seemed to be a mix of acceptance and complicated, often contradictory advice. But as I sifted through the information, a pattern began to emerge. Certain foods kept appearing again and again, linked in study after study to improved cognitive function, neuroprotection, and slowing age-related decline. I was skeptical. Could something as simple as changing my diet truly combat something as complex as brain aging? It sounded too good to be true. But I was also determined. I decided to commit to a 90-day experiment. I would systematically incorporate 4 of the most consistently praised superfoods into my daily routine and track the results. I wasn't just going to eat them. I was going to understand the science of how they were supposed to work. What happened over the next 3 months didn't just change my diet, it changed my life, and it's what I'm here to share with you today. We're going to go through each of these 4 superfoods one by one. I'll break down the powerful science behind them and show you exactly how I integrated them into my life to reclaim my mental clarity. The first superfood is one you're probably familiar with, but you might not understand just how powerful it truly is. I'm talking about blueberries. And not just any blueberries, specifically wild blueberries if you can find them, as they often contain an even higher concentration of the brain-supporting compounds we're after. Before this journey, blueberries were just something I'd occasionally throw into a smoothie. Now they are a non-negotiable part of my morning ritual. The reason comes down to a specific class of phytonutrients called flavonoids, and within that family, a superstar compound called anthocyanin. Anthocyanins are the pigments that give blueberries their deep, rich blue and purple color. But their function goes far beyond aesthetics. Think of anthocyanins as a specialized support unit for your brain. Here's what the science says. Our brains are under constant assault from something called oxidative stress. It's a natural byproduct of our metabolism, but it's accelerated by things like stress, poor diet, and environmental toxins. Oxidative stress generates unstable molecules called free radicals, which can damage brain cells and contribute to inflammation. This process is a key driver of brain aging and cognitive decline. Anthocyanins are potent antioxidants. They are able to cross the blood-brain barrier, a highly selective membrane that protects your brain, and go to work helping to neutralize these free radicals. This reduces the overall oxidant and inflammatory load on your brain cells. Furthermore, studies suggest that anthocyanins may do more than just play defense. They appear to support communication between brain cells and have been shown in some human studies to improve blood flow to key areas of the brain, which is crucial for delivering oxygen and nutrients for peak performance. One notable study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults who consumed a daily dose of wild blueberry powder, equivalent to about a cup of fresh berries, showed significant improvements in executive function and short-term memory in just 12 weeks. Another study with older adults showing early memory changes found that daily consumption of blueberry juice led to improved performance in learning tests and word recall. The evidence is compelling, These small berries pack a significant neurological benefit. So, how did I incorporate them? It was surprisingly simple. Every morning, without fail, I start my day with a bowl of oatmeal or Greek yogurt, and I top it with a generous cup of frozen wild blueberries. Using frozen berries is a great hack. They are often more affordable, available year-round, and freezing can actually make the anthocyanins more bioavailable. For an afternoon snack, I created what I call my brain-boosting trail mix, combining dried blueberries with walnuts and pumpkin seeds. The first change I noticed, probably within the first few weeks, wasn't a sudden lightning bolt of clarity, but a subtle lifting of the fog. It was like a static-filled radio station slowly coming into focus. The words I was searching for came a little faster. I could hold a complex thought in my head for longer without it slipping away. It was this initial, gentle improvement that gave me the motivation to keep going. The second superfood on my list is the humble walnut. If blueberries are the brain's support unit, walnuts are the maintenance crew, tasked with fortifying your neural architecture. For years, I avoided nuts because I was worried about the fat content, a common misconception that I now realize was robbing my brain of an essential building block. Walnuts are unique among nuts because of their incredibly high concentration of a specific type of omega-3 fatty acid called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. Our bodies can't produce ALA on their own, so we must get it from our diet. While many people associate omega-3s with fish, ALA is the plant-based precursor, and it plays a critical role in brain health. Here's how it works. Your brain is about 60% fat, and the membranes of your brain cells are built primarily from fatty acids. Omega-3s like ALA are essential for maintaining the fluidity and integrity of these cell membranes. A healthy brain cell membrane allows nutrients in and waste out efficiently, supporting communication between cells. The benefits of the ALA in walnuts are a subject of ongoing research. Animal studies suggest these omega-3s may support neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons, especially in the brain's memory and learning center, though more direct evidence in humans is still needed. They also support synaptic plasticity, which is the brain's ability to form and strengthen connections between neurons. Every time you learn something new or form a memory, you are relying on synaptic plasticity. Furthermore, walnuts are packed with polyphenols and vitamin E, potent antioxidants that work alongside the omega-3s to fight oxidative stress and inflammation. This combination of healthy fats and antioxidants makes walnuts a true powerhouse for cognitive support. While large-scale studies have not definitively proven that walnuts can prevent Alzheimer's, observational studies have found that diets including nuts are associated with better memory and slower age-related cognitive decline. My personal journey with walnuts began with a simple goal: a handful a day. That's about a quarter of a cup. I would either eat them as a standalone snack in the afternoon, or I'd crush them up and sprinkle them over my salads for a satisfying crunch. The walnut berry oatmeal became a breakfast staple, combining the power of my first two superfoods. The effect of adding walnuts was different from the blueberries. While the berries seemed to lift the fog, the walnuts felt like they were reinforcing the foundation. My focus became sharper and more sustained. I could sit and work on a complex task for longer without feeling the mental fatigue that used to set in. It was like the processing power of my brain had been upgraded. I felt more mentally robust. The third superfood isn't a single item, but a category that has become the bedrock of my lunch and dinner: leafy greens. I'm talking about spinach, kale, collard greens, and even broccoli. For most of my life, these were a side dish, an afterthought. Now I understand they are primary fuel for a high-performance brain. A study from the Memory and Aging Project followed over 900 older adults for nearly 5 years. It found that people who ate just 1 to 2 servings of green leafy vegetables per day had a slower rate of cognitive decline. The results were so staggering, researchers noted the difference was equivalent to being 11 years younger in cognitive age. Let's break down the key players. First up is vitamin K, which is essential for producing sphingolipids, special fats densely packed into our brain cell membranes. Research has found that higher concentrations of vitamin K in the brain are associated with a lower chance of dementia or mild cognitive impairment. Next is lutein, a type of antioxidant that accumulates in the brain. Studies show that higher levels of lutein are directly associated with better cognitive function. Then there's folate, or vitamin B9, which is critical for regulating an amino acid called homocysteine. High levels of homocysteine are a known risk factor for cognitive impairment. Finally, these greens are also rich in beta-carotene and nitrates, which act as antioxidants and help improve blood flow. The science is clear. A daily serving of these greens provides a multi-pronged strategy for supporting brain health. My strategy for integration was simple. Make greens the star of the show. For lunch, I started making massive salads with a base of spinach and kale, loaded with other colorful vegetables, a lean protein, and a sprinkle of walnuts. I also discovered that a handful of spinach is virtually tasteless in a smoothie with blueberries and a banana. For dinner, I would saute kale or broccoli with garlic and olive oil as a mandatory side dish. The impact of adding leafy greens was profound. It wasn't just my brain that felt better. My entire body felt more energized. Cognitively, the effect was one of endurance and resilience. The mental fatigue that used to plague my afternoons vanished. My mood felt more stable, and my thinking felt more organized and structured. If blueberries cleared the fog and walnuts sharpened the focus, leafy greens built the stamina. The fourth and final superfood is a spice, turmeric, and specifically its active compound, curcumin. This golden spice, a staple in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries, has emerged in modern science as one of the most potent anti-inflammatory agents on the planet. Before this experiment, my experience with turmeric was limited to the occasional curry. Now I see it as a daily tool for my brain. The power of curcumin lies in its ability to combat chronic inflammation, which is recognized as a factor in many age-related diseases, including neurodegenerative conditions. Here's the science. Curcumin is a modulator of inflammation. It can inhibit the activation of inflammatory pathways in the body and brain. This is critically important because chronic, low-grade neuroinflammation is thought to silently damage neurons over years. What's even more remarkable is curcumin's potential. Laboratory and animal studies have shown that curcumin can interact with the amyloid beta plaques seen in Alzheimer's disease. However, the clinical evidence in humans is still limited and inconclusive. Similarly, some preclinical research suggests it may influence factors related to neurogenesis, like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. But human studies are needed to confirm these effects. Incorporating curcumin required a little creativity. The key thing to know about curcumin is that its bioavailability is notoriously low on its own. To unlock its full power, it helps to consume it with healthy fat and a pinch of black pepper, which contains piperine, a compound that can increase absorption significantly. My go-to method became the golden milk latte. Every evening, I would gently warm a cup of almond or coconut milk and whisk in half a teaspoon of organic turmeric powder, a pinch of black pepper, a dash of cinnamon, and a tiny bit of honey. I also started adding turmeric liberally to my cooking, sprinkling it on roasted vegetables and stirring it into soups. The effect of the curcumin was the final clarifying piece. It felt like it was cleaning up the last remnants of mental clutter. My thoughts felt incredibly clean and sharp. The best way I can describe it is that my brain felt calm, not tired or slow, but effortlessly efficient. The background noise was gone. This was the surprising result I had read was possible. Before I started this journey, my brain felt like a cluttered attic. 90 days later, it feels like a bright, clean, organized library. Everything is in its place. The information is accessible. The change wasn't just about remembering my PIN or where I put my keys. It was a fundamental shift. My conversations became richer because I could stay present. My work became more productive because my focus was more stable. My mood improved because the constant low-grade anxiety of feeling my mind slip was gone. I felt like myself again, a sharper, clearer, more confident version of myself. To recap, the 4 pillars of this transformation were: blueberries, the antioxidant support unit to help protect against free radical damage and support blood flow; walnuts, the neural maintenance crew providing essential omega-3 fats to support brain cell structure and connections; leafy greens, the dedicated support staff delivering a suite of nutrients like vitamin K, lutein, and folate to protect cells and cognitive function; turmeric, the master anti-inflammatory agent that research suggests may help calm the brain and support clean, efficient function. You don't have to live in a state of brain fog or accept significant memory loss as an inevitable part of aging. The power to support your mental clarity is, quite literally, on your plate. You don't have to do everything at once. Start small. Pick just one of these superfoods and commit to incorporating it into your diet this week. Maybe it's a handful of walnuts in the afternoon or adding spinach to your eggs in the morning. If you found this helpful and want more practical, science-backed tips on how to support your brain health, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be sharing more of my journey and the strategies that have made the biggest difference. For those of you who want to explore the science further, I've linked to some of the key studies in the description below. That moment in the grocery store was deeply concerning, but today I'm grateful for it. It was the wake-up call I needed to take control of my health. It set me on a path that led me to a simple yet profound truth. The food we eat is not just fuel for our bodies. It is information for our brains. By giving your brain the right information, the right building blocks, and the right protection, you can do more than just slow down cognitive decline. You can actively support its health, building a brain that is sharper, clearer, and more resilient than you might have thought possible. Thank you for watching.